Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Let's Get Raw and Real show. Boy, do we have a great show scheduled for you tonight. I'm so happy to have my collaborator and friend, Tia Costello, otherwise known as the Hungry Vegan Mama, for those that follow her on YouTube and are watching live or possibly will be catching the replay tonight. Please use the chat to ask any questions you have tonight, and she will answer it. The Let's Get Raw and Real show was created in the time of coronavirus to bring some applicable tips to the audience and to humanity as a whole on the 7 pillars of life. And tonight, we are going to be touching on 3 pillars: health, relationships, and mindset. Because when we change our health, we are in essence changing our mindset, and it's impacting our relationships with our family and those we love. So thank you so much, Tia, for agreeing to come on board. I know some people are really looking forward to this show tonight. And I'm going to be including in the chat your link to your 28-day guide for the audience to be able to click on it should they want to, and should they be interested in communicating with you after tonight. And to start off with, I wanted to know, because when you and I met back in 2011, I knew you were struggling with your weight. It was like, it's been that long. And I remember that night so well because I was having to pass the friends test. And we met each other at a bar of all places.
That's right.
And I know that as our friendship progressed, I knew there were times you had mentioned to me you had been struggling with your weight. And then we kind of lost touch and we reconnected. And when we reconnected, I was like, oh my gosh, the transformation was
Who are you?
And I was like, who are you? But I was so excited for you because I thought to myself, my gosh, this is so amazing that you dropped 50 pounds. I understand that. And you probably have gone beyond the 50 pounds. I bet you haven't been checking, but I'm pretty sure you're either maintaining or you're working on it.
Yeah.
But heck, maintaining it is tough, man. Mm-hmm. That is a tough one. It's easy sometimes to drop it, but to just stay there and stay consistent is always a big thing. So could you take us on your journey? Because I'm really interested in knowing how you did it.
How it happened? So I kind of have to back up to when I was a child. Because first of all, I grew up in New Orleans, which I know you know that. And the food there is just amazing. So I grew up with all the, fatty, buttery, oily foods that were really high in calories, but oh so delicious. And seafoods. And I, at around the age of 11, realized that I didn't like eating meat. I just didn't. And I also, at that time, realized that I was gaining extra fat, and I was kind of looking a little different than everyone else that was 11. So I knew early on that I wanted to make some sort of change. So I decided to become a vegetarian because I didn't like meat. And I really didn't know all really there was to know about health at the time. Obviously, I was a child. So I just ate all the vegetarian processed foods like rice-a-roni and prepackaged SpaghettiOs and, just Oreos and anything that did not include meat, I would eat. And as a child, that unfortunately was not healthy, vegetarian dishes. So I just continued to gain weight. And at 12 years old, I hate admitting it, but I went on my first Fad Diet. And this cycle just started from there. So throughout my teen years, I was able to get thin doing fad diets, but they just weren't sustainable. And what would happen, as it always does, I would lose some weight, get off of it because I was, at the weight I wanted to be, and the weight I would gain it back. And then I would go on another fad diet or back to the same one, and, and so on and so forth. And this lasted throughout until I got pregnant with Max, who's my first, for those of you who don't know me. And when I got pregnant with Max, it was like a free-for-all. I was like, oh my God, I don't have to diet. I can eat whatever I want. And no one will know if I gain weight because my stomach's getting bigger. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
I've been there twice.
So I just went crazy. And my first encounter, this was the first time I became aware of my health, problems with my health, because I forget when you go in when you're pregnant to get the glucose test, but I failed miserably and I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes. And
ouch.
I was completely shocked because diabetes does not run anywhere in my family. No one in my family has ever had diabetes. And so I was just kind of like, well, that's probably wrong. The doctor was like, no, it's not wrong. You have it. And so I asked how, and he said, Tia, if sometimes you can get it if it's, hereditary in the family. He said, but usually it's a direct relation to your health and the way that you're eating. And so that was a big blow because I had thought, obviously I was eating pregnant, but I had thought up until that point of pregnancy that I was healthy. Because unfortunately, the diet industry tells us, oh, do this fad diet. It's healthy for you. Eat all this meat. It's healthy for you. And it's just not. So so that was the first sign that my health was pretty bad. So I did what the doctor told me. I ate, no carbs and lots of meat. And I was able to put a Band-Aid on the diabetes. While I was pregnant with Max, once I realized oh my God, like something's wrong with my health, I decided to start doing a lot of research about it, about what was going on with me. And that's when I first I first realized the documentary Forks Over Knives, which talks about eating a whole foods plant-based diet and how it can reverse all these different diseases, prevent diseases and reverse diseases. And so I was just blown away. And I had told my husband, when Max is born, I want to become a vegan and I want to eat, I just want to do that. So I tried when Max was born, and it was a bit of a disaster because, going from the standard American diet, which is a diet with meat, dairy, eggs, and what most Americans eat, prepackaged foods, it's quite the change to go from that to eating no animal products whatsoever. So it was tough. It was really tough for me to do. I didn't know what I was doing. I had a new baby. What I thought would be just a sweet, easy life with a newborn was not. It was a disaster. And so having to deal with being a new mom, not having a career anymore, staying home all day, breastfeeding, and the failures that I was thinking were failures that came with that, even though it's not. Just all that to totally changing my diet. It just wasn't working. So I fell off the wagon and I was like, yeah, I don't care anymore. I just ate bad. So, it was, I had this constant back and forth because I had the information in the back of my mind that I learned from watching Forks Over Knives and in books that I started to read. I was gaining all this knowledge, but I didn't know how to make it a reality for my life. And part of me was also self-sabotaging through that. And so throughout, becoming a new mom and the pregnancy of my daughter, I just was constantly in a back and forth, being a vegan, not being a vegan, doing a fad diet, and then realizing, well, the fad diet's not going to work. And I was getting nowhere. Then when I got pregnant with my daughter, this was the second health issue that I had. 8 months pregnant, I was diagnosed with melanoma. And I found out that does run in my family, and I did not know this.
Okay.
But now, knowing what I know, yes, we're all born, and we're exposed to, or we have predispositions to diseases, but what we eat determines if those, illnesses are going to get turned on or not. So I, again, was eating horribly during the pregnancy of my daughter. And, I was diagnosed with melanoma. So that was just, luckily, it was stage 1. It was early. It didn't go to my lymph nodes, so they were able to just cut it all out, and I was okay. But again, it was just another health problem that I was having, and it just I couldn't put my finger on it, like what was going on. So again, I tried to be a vegan. I tried to eat healthy, and it just wasn't working. And this just, again, continued. My daughter's 5 now. And it continued. I mean, this went on forever. It continued until she was around 4, maybe about to turn 4. And the last health thing this was about almost a year and a half ago. I was woken up in the middle of the night horribly, and told my husband, I think you need to call 911. I'm having a heart attack. And I was not. Or I said, I don't know what's going on. I think I'm having a heart attack, or it's my gallbladder, because I had little gallbladder attacks, nothing serious, but little gallbladder instances before this where I had talked to my doctor about it, and he had told me, like, oh, that sounds like your gallbladder, but I just kind of brushed it off. So anyway, fast forward, I wake up, and I mean, it was call 911 pain. But I didn't want him to call 911, and we prayed through it, and miraculously, there was like this pop sensation right around, down here. And, I felt better, and I knew immediately that was a gallstone, probably stuck, and it unlodged, and I was having this attack. And the next day I went to the doctor. They did an ultrasound. I had a huge, just one gallstone that was right by the opening of where your gallbladder feeds through to your kidneys. And so the doctor said, we're going to have to take your gallbladder out. Like, we're going to have to do it because this is going to happen again. And I said, well, is my gallbladder infected? And he said, no, but the way, the American diet is, I mean, you're going to have your gallbladder taken out. And I didn't want that. I have friends and family members who have had gallbladders taken out, and they can't eat even healthy, fatty things. And they are always in the bathroom. And I was like, I don't want this for me. This is it. I told him, I said, thank you. I'll call you back. And when I left, and I walked out saying, I am changing my life. I am going to figure out how I can eat, become a vegan, but eat more specifically a whole foods, plant-based diet, reverse any health problems that I have going on, get rid of this gallbladder issue, and that's it. And so I did. So I know that is a very long story, but that is the story. And that's how I got here.
Because you talked about, I mean, I figured it's been like a good 10 years of having this longer than that. You started as a child. You've always been in your mind vegan, but growing up in New Orleans and having a family that perhaps isn't as open about, these new, because they view it as newer age, fads to be a vegan. Like, it's not something, at least in my family, Mexicans, it's like a no, because it's all meat. Are you kidding? That doesn't exist. In fact, if they had seen me with that plate the other day, would have been like, what are you doing? Much like my family looked at me like I was cross-eyed. But, I mean, we're talking about like major struggle. And I know people that are listening tonight have had the similar struggles of trying these fad diets and it being not happening. And I think part of it was also a mindset where you had yet to create the identity of being a healthy person. And that takes time to do that. I mean, you talked about patterns, like working through patterns. So that's a mindset. Tell me something about this transition. Tell me how you transitioned your young family, because that really intrigues me as a parent. Because our kids, you know, they go to birthday parties and what do they feed at birthday parties? Pizza, you know, pizza. Everything is processed. Everything is junk. A lot of children that suffer from focus issues, the very first thing they tell us is change their nutrition. And in fact, go for vegan. Try not to eat as much meat because fatty meats don't really help the brain. So how did you help your kiddos? Because you mentioned Finley's 5 and Max is how old? 10, 8? Where is he?
7. He's about to turn 8.
7. Okay. So you've got a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old that eat healthy. How did you do that? And then a husband who, by the way, is like Oklahoman, Texan, and everything put together, and it's all about the meat. So do kind of walk us through that transition.
Well, first of all, it's one thing to raise your child this way, you know, from the beginning. That's a lot easier. So anyone listening who's about to be a parent, start off this way, you know, if you can. But yeah, to transition children who have been eating meat and dairy and eggs it can be tough. So for me, I led with example and education. I did not force my children to do anything. Of course, you know, I am their mom and what I say goes.
You are the boss.
But I'm not going to, you know, tell them, hey, no more eating meat, no more eating cheese. This is the only thing we're eating, because that's just not, I viewed it as not fair to them because I raised them one way and I'm switching up, you know, their lifestyle. Obviously, like I said, I'm their mom and I could do that, but I feel that from my family, it was best to educate them on the change and let them come to their own realization, not to force, because I knew, especially with my son, there would be that resistance just because of his age and because he loves steak. And so, you know, and also my husband had told me in the beginning, I mean, he's told me for years, hey, I support you in whatever you want to do, but I'm not giving up meat. I'm not giving up my eggs and, you know, for breakfast. And I was like, fine. He's like, but I will support you however you want. So anyway, when I made this change for good, he told me that. And I just made sure that everything I ate, I would tell my kids, hey, guess what I'm eating? And I would tell them what I'm eating. And I would say, you know why I'm eating this? And I would tell them why. And that would always lead to questions of, well, what about what I'm eating? You know, because they would always wonder, well, what is my food doing to me? And I was honest. And so, you know, there was a slow want from them to change. Max, my daughter, is kind of just naturally not a big meat or dairy eater. She did love cheese, but so she always really ate a lot of whole, real, like raw plant foods, like fruits and veggies. She hates cooked veggies. You know, she loves raw stuff. She's like a rabbit. So it hasn't been that difficult for Finley. Max, it was a struggle because he loves steak, and it's crazy. I don't know how, but he has this thought like, oh, well, I'm a boy. I need steak, and I need, you know, I want meat. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, so
Genetics?
Yeah, I know. I don't buy. So what happened, just to kind of answer your question, I just quit buying animal products. I just stopped.
Okay.
And I told them, listen, even for my husband, I said, if you want this stuff, you're more than welcome to get in the car and go get it. But it's not going to be in the house. It's not going to be in the house. And I'm going to make plant-based meals, which they all love for the most part. And it just, with the education and the me putting my foot down and saying, hey, I'm not buying it anymore. You're more than welcome to make your own, go get your own stuff, or, it just slowly, every week or every month, I should say, there was more requests for healthier foods. Now, that's not to say, if my son goes to a birthday party, he's not going to be the only one not eating pizza. He can have a piece of pizza, or and cake. Those things, those animal products are occasional for them.
Okay.
But I'm okay with that, because to be on a plant-based diet, as ideal as it is to eliminate all animal products, it's okay if every now and then you are eating some. If 85 to 90% of your diet is predominantly plants, you're doing great. So I'm okay if my kids eat the occasional pizza or Doritos at a friend's house, or, Max, every Friday, if my son has a good week, he gets to buy lunch in the cafeteria. I hope he buys the vegan option. They actually do have vegan and vegetarian things. I let him know. He's educated enough to know, like, hey, this food's going to make you feel this way. This food's going to make you feel that way. But I know he's getting pizza. You know what I mean? So
like, he's a kid, dude. Kids. He's a kid. And the peer pressure at school, and they're like,
yes,
vegan. And I remember even my 15-year-old saying, vegan? Are you really going to go vegan? And I'm like, what? Are you actually taunting me to do it? And that is almost like a taunt. Yeah. I may take you up on that. I go, Andres, it's actually healthier. And when you feel better, your attitude changes like immensely. That's why it impacts your relationship so much. Your physical health, it's not just impacting physically, it's impacting mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Because I know a lot of people out there, they eat emotionally. Yes?
Oh,
and you probably have encountered this. Yeah. Did you do it too?
Oh, horribly. I would run to food for all kinds of stuff, and that's why
was it mostly sweets that you ran to, or salty?
Oh no, it's salty. I'm not a huge sweet fan.
No, that's where that
don't get me wrong. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I do love it, but I'm more of a salty, kind of person. But I would run to anything, really.
I liked your one of your meals. I heard one of your videos on the YouTube channel, which, by the way, congratulations for having how many subscribers? Holy moly. I was like, oh my God.
I think it's about 25,000 right now, which is it's awesome. Amazing. I started it during the pandemic to just have fun, and same thing with Instagram. I started the Instagram just to hold myself accountable. A little over a year ago, just to keep on track, and it has just grown. And to be able to for my story to impact so many people around the world, like, it makes me tear up. It's just it's a blessing.
That's amazing.
It really is.
Well, and the thing is, God has gifted both of us with very unique gifts. And when we collaborate together, like we're doing now, we can reach so much more people that way, because we can use each other's strengths to pass the baton back and forth and elevate the level of value in a program to such a degree, and help change lives. Because really, if my audience ends up buying your book and getting healthier, you and I have done our job tonight, even if two people transform their lives. Because one of the things that I have always known, and this is something I share often in my talks, is every person you impact has the influence over 3 other people in their life. And do you imagine like how many subscribers and then just do the math. I'm not good at math, but you can do the math. And that's amazing. How many people you're impacting. You're impacting, because if they are better human beings, because they feel better, because they're sleeping better, because they are eating healthier, and it's impacting their mindset and their relationships, God is very happy with you right now. Very, very happy with you. Wow. So I'm just excited for you. I'm very, very excited for you.
Thank you.
You have shared a couple of these, but I'm sure you can come up with 3 additional tips that can help this audience make that change easier from, say, let's say they're eating out of 7 days a week, they're eating primarily meat. Where do they start? How can they start this transition?
I always suggest a slow transition, unless you are somebody who just wants to change overnight and can stick to something and then do it right away. But I think it's best cutting out, if you're eating such a heavy animal focused diet, it's always best to do it slowly. There's no race, take your time. This is about the rest of your life. It's not about the next 2 weeks. It's the rest of your life. So it just depends. It depends on what would be easier to cut out. For me, actually, I just kind of went cold turkey, but let's say, take my husband, for instance, for Jordan. Okay. He actually didn't even cut out. He started adding things. So that's also an idea too. So you can either slowly take out things like, I'm not going to have milk anymore for 2 weeks. And then after those 2 weeks, should be used to it, or 28 days. And then after that, you can say, okay, now I'm going to cut out chicken. And then I'm going to cut out beef. And then I'm going to cut out fish. And then I'm going to cut, you can slowly do that. But like what Jordan did is he decided he was going to start adding things first. And so he replaced his, which this was so surprising because this was the one thing he never wanted to give up, was his eggs. He replaced his breakfast. I was literally like,
Joe on the floor. You're like, who's this dude?
He replaced his breakfast with a healthy cereal full of whole grains and just sprouted grains. And it's one of our favorite cereals called Rip's Big Bowl. He just started eating that. That's all he did. And after feeling the effects of what that energizing cereal was doing to him, I mean, he just had so much energy. He got in seeing me. Okay. So that helped. I'm going to toot my horn a little bit. I mean, losing 50 pounds and getting super healthy, that also helped him kind of be like, what's going on here?
Like
and
that.
That's been, he saw all the documentaries and all that with me. But he started to experience, though, the feelings for himself. And so after, it started to become, okay, well, I'm going to keep doing the cereal because I like it. And now for lunch, I'm going to have a little bit of what you have. What are you having? And I was like, oh, I'm just making a sushi bowl like you were telling me you ate. And he was like, I'll have one of those. I'd make him a sushi bowl and he would love it. And so he just slowly, he didn't have in his mind that he was going to be giving up anything. He just had in his mind, I'm going to start adding more plant foods. And it just turned into him being 100% plant-based now, which is just awesome. Crazy.
That is just, I would have never thought of him going. I mean, I kind of knew because you had the discipline from way back when I knew you. I was like, this girl's going to do it one day. She's going to break that code. Somehow something's going to happen, and as a transitional mindset coach, I don't know why it always has to happen this way, but something always happens health-wise for us to start making those changes that really matter. So for you, that turning point was the gallbladder issue where you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm having a heart attack. Something's happening. I mean, it was a combination of things because as you discussed, first you had the gestational diabetes with Max, then you had the melanoma issue with Finley, and not with Finley, but while pregnant with Finley. And then you end up with a gallbladder issue, and that just finally just goes click in your mind of like, I'm done. I'm so done. And those are the things that I'm like, I always ask my clients, it's like, why do you have to wait till tragedy strikes to when you start making changes in your health? It's better to do it now with anything, with relationships, with mindset, with career, because you only get one life. We don't get to come back, you know? And some of us get a second chance and some of us don't.
And I feel like that happens so much because there's just so much information at our fingertips, and so much of it is bad information. And I think no matter what it is, it can get really confusing. At least it was for me. It was very confusing for me to know what was the right thing to do. But after seeing, you know, the Forks Over Knives documentary, in reading and researching and understanding that it is scientific proof, it is factual. These are plants we're talking about. God made this stuff. He put nutrients in there for a reason. When I started dumbing things down, I started to realize, well, of course we're meant to eat potatoes. Like, of course we're meant to eat carrots and corn. Like all these low carb diet were telling me like, oh, don't eat carrots and don't eat potatoes and don't eat corn because they're full of sugar. And it's like, but they were created for a reason. And yes, there's sugar in there, but it's good for us. We need it for energy. And so to my point, I'm just trying to say, it's in a way, it's so great to have all this information at hand, but there is just so much bad information out there. And I think that it's very confusing for people. It's just real confusing.
So if they want it, because being that the first tip you gave was to possibly add stuff instead of take away. The second tip I kind of heard you say is get informed, like really do your research. Don't just like accept any fad diet, because there's so many diets out there. It's confusing. It's overwhelming.
There is. I mean, you need to do your own research, obviously, and get educated yourself before you can educate your family. You need to really know. And I highly recommend watching Forks Over Knives. I mean, these are real doctors. I'm not talking about like holistic doctors. I'm talking NDs. And I'm talking cardiologists, and I'm talking actual scientific proof. There is a whole foods plant-based diet is the only diet, and by diet I don't mean weight loss plan, I mean way of eating, that has been proven to reverse heart disease, diabetes, everything. Everything else out there might claim it, but there is no scientific proof, and it's just Band-Aids. It's not actual reversals.
Getting to the root of the issue.
Yes.
Because a lot of people go, boom, Band-Aid, Band-Aid, Band-Aid. And it's like, it's just, you're prolonging it. You're prolonging your pain by doing that. I mean,
or you're causing other problems, you know? So
it's becoming like a domino effect of issues in you that once you get to a certain point, you won't be able to reverse. You know, once some people push it to agree that your body, they're one and that's it. And you better take care of it because you may not get a second chance. I mean, my stress had gotten so incredibly high, and people don't realize how much stress plays a role in it. But when you're constantly like in the, you know, conundrum of life and stuff, it can cause major havoc, you know, and that's why we say, you know, meditation and journaling and try to stay calm, don't get your anxiety all worked up. But with physical health, I find that now Forks Over Knives documentary, where did you find that? Because it
used to be free on Netflix. I don't think I think it's on Amazon now, and I think you can rent it. It's dated. It's still valid, truthful information that's current, but it had come out, I think, over like a decade ago. There's some other ones that are newer and fantastic as well. The Game Changers, which is free. You can watch that on Netflix. That's what got Jordan really
changed
interested.
Up.
Yeah.
Well, he was talking about it the other day.
Oh, it's this one, they address the health stuff at the end of it. They start off with performance stuff. So it's a lot of athletes and how they switch their diets and have actually started to perform better and built more muscle eating plants. So not getting their protein from animal sources, actually getting it from plants. And so that's a great one for you and I and other women, but also if you find yourself with a husband who's like, oh no, I need my protein, I need meat, for protein, which is baloney.
Yeah.
It's a great one too. I mean, it's not baloney. Yes, you get protein from meat, but you get protein from plants too.
The guy that's married to Giselle Bundchen or I can't pronounce it. Isn't he one of the ones that's gone vegan? No,
he's not vegan. He eats plant-based, and so that's something I kind of wanted to address really quick. So, being a vegan, there's two ways to eat in life. You either eat animals, so you're a carnivore, or you're a vegan and you don't eat animals. That's it. So there's two things under these umbrellas. Let's call them. So let's say under the meat eating umbrella, there's a million different ways to eat. You can do keto. You can do Whole30. You can do, I don't know. You know what I mean? Atkins.
Remember Atkins?
I don't know if South Beach is still around. I did South Beach. You can do they all seem to be low carb.
The Mediterranean one or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
So that's just a way to eat under the meat eating umbrella. Now take vegan. Being a vegan, that just means you don't eat animal foods. Under veganism, you can be a raw vegan, which means you only eat raw fruits and vegetables. Which is great.
Family
I would be starving.
Right.
You can do high carb, low fat, where you eat a lot of carbs, low in fat, which is kind of what I do. You can be plant-based, which means you can eat foods based on plants, like Burger King has a plant-based burger. You can eat, still kind of processed foods, or you can eat whole foods plant-based, which is what I do, which is whole plant foods, starches, beans, legumes, just plant foods in their natural state, kind of similar to Whole30 on the meat eating side, just no meat. And no dairy. But so that's just to kind of explain. So Tom Brady is not vegan, but he does eat plant-based. And so you can still eat plant-based, meaning most of your meals come from plants, but about like 10% of the time you'll have a piece of fish or you'll have a little bit of cheese. So you can still call yourself plant-based if you do have a little bit of meat. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like you don't have to give up all animal products, although it's ideal for the best health, you should, but you don't have to give it all up. You can just do like 85 to 95% or 90% plant meals, and then have fish occasionally, or, the occasional,
because the healthier ones would be like the wild caught fish. That's really like the healthiest if you're going to go fish, right? Of the fish family.
I mean, I think no fish is healthy, and I know that's probably like opening up a can of worms. But just watch Forks Over Knives, or watch the Game Changers. Or there's one more. It's called What the Health.
My gosh.
What the Health is on Netflix also, and it's really good.
Well, I may just watch it tonight.
You should. They're very eye-opening. They are. What the Health will make you get a little angry at what we're not being told. Basically, it's. I mean, it gives me chills right now because I might actually rewatch that tonight. The Game Changers gets you pumped. Like, oh my God, I'm doing this. But What the Health in Forks Over Knives, those are two very eye-opening, like, oh, wow. Like, I can't believe this is going on.
Yeah. And you know what? And what's really sad to me is how a lot of lobbying efforts, like from these big corporations that produce these things, is what's really like, and I don't mind stepping in here, and that's why it's called Let's Get Raw and Real, because we're going to get to the real issue of what's plaguing humanity. And like I said, our health is so critical to our success in life. I mean, it's directly tied to our success in our careers. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like when they come to coaching with me, oh, I don't have any need for that. And I'm like, you realize that all this is tied in together. Yeah. Like, you know, it kind of reminds me of the whole Brene Brown, like the power of vulnerability talk, where she's like, I don't want to get into that whole childhood crap that has nothing to do with me. And it's like, it has everything to do with you. Well, that childhood crap is your patterns of behavior and why you
are who you are.
You know, and your patterns and your beliefs all come from that childhood crap. So I always laugh because I've had a lot of clients say that I don't want to get into this, and I'm like, your energy is directly tied to your health. That's why I'm telling you, the 7 pillars of life. All of these things matter, and they're all interconnected, one with the other. But I am a big proponent of transparency. And I think transparency really helps humanity see everything for as is, instead of the emotions that cloud the logic from actually, like, us using our conscious mind to like break these things up, like much like you did. You kind of remove the emotion and the patterns from it. And once you saw it for what it was, you're like, oh yeah, I need to change. I need to change because this is really like, this is a must for me. This is a must for me. It's a must for my family. But I do see how some of these companies, because the bottom line and the mighty dollar is attached to it, then they don't, they're like, I don't want.
What does the Bible say? Greed is the root of all evil. And I mean, it couldn't be more apparent in watching what the hell.
Well, the marketing, some of these marketing ploys that they have, you know, like, oh, this is so healthy. I'm like, how can you say that to kids? You know, how can you say that? I'm glad YouTube finally caught on board of like what was being showed to children. Because it's like, holy, I mean, like, have you seen what's being shown to kids and where they're getting these ideas from? And it's all at the subconscious level, which is really good.
Oh, imagine me. I go nuts when my kids watch like just regular TV and not like Netflix or anything, and the constant commercials of Pizza Hut and what is the Frosted Flakes, and then Fruit Loops, and then, you know, it's just back to back commercials of food. And not healthy food. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I saw a commercial on a banana. Or like an orange. What?
You know, I always tell my kids, I'm like, you know, we got to improve our health. Like I said, you know, one of my rules is like, you want to eat processed, it's great. I'm not going to force you. What I am going to force you to do, because I am the boss too, you know, is you're going to balance that off with something whole. So you pick, you have this, you know, this line of fruits that you can have, and we want to have at least, so what's the regulation now? When I took a nutritional course way back when, it was 3 to 5 fruits a day. What is the guideline nowadays? Is that
I believe it's still the same, 3 to 5 servings of fruit and like 5 to 8 servings of vegetables. I mean, the vegetables is the bigger one. But it's pretty much that. And that's not hard to do. I mean, a serving is not like super big.
No. So what is the serving that is considered, you know, balanced and nutritional and good for kids? Like, say,
I mean, like for Finley, in Max, they usually always have an apple a day, which I did not say this, but
keeps the doctor away.
Yeah, it keeps the doctor away. I'm like, yes, it does. So they'll have an apple, and they'll have, you know, let's say a pretty good size amount of grapes. I mean, that's probably 3 to 5 servings of fruit. It's a lot. Okay. And I mean, it's probably more like 3, depending on how many grapes you give. The veggies, that can be the tougher one for kids because they just don't like many. And mostly I think that's because they aren't raised eating a lot of veggies. or they are raised with veggies with butter and oils sauteed in there. And so when they are presented with a veggie that's not as buttery as you made it or not as oily, they don't want it. It's gross. Whereas fruit, you don't pour oil on fruit or pour butter. You don't change or alter the flavor of that. So plus it's sweet. So, with my kids, they are usually eating some type of, if it's not salad at night, Max loves salads. He loves broccoli. I'll make him a smoothie when they get home from school, and I'll throw a ton of spinach in there. Max loves, I'm trying to think what would be realistic for people, because this might be a little bit out there, but I make him stir fry for lunch. He'd rather that than a peanut butter sandwich. And I always put in veggies and soybean, like edamame in there. So it just, that's plenty.
I'm trying to think of the vegetable. I'm like, there is one that my kids love too. At least Andres. Andres does eat a lot of green vegetables. Vivi is the one that's resisting me. I'm like, no. You're the youngest one. You're not supposed to be resisting. She does eat a lot of fruit that I'll give her. So I'm like, okay, I'll pick my battles with that one, With the other one, it's like, well, I just like blueberries. I'm like, okay, let's start expanding on that, kind of like just strawberries. Can we do strawberries now? Or, and I remember long ago hearing a talk from a medical doctor, an endocrinologist, that said there are certain fruits to kind of steer clear of, too much of them is not so good for you. Is that still the case here? Like bananas? No, bananas are good. Fully, the whole banana.
I'm not familiar with that. What I am familiar with is there's a lot of doctors most doctors don't know nutrition. Okay. They just know how to treat. They don't know nutrition. And what they do know of nutrition, it's just some fad going on, some article of something that helped someone. Or put a Band-Aid, and so they continue to recommend that. You can't go wrong with fruit. Can you eat too many bananas? Yeah, absolutely. And spike your blood sugar? Yeah, absolutely. But, eating a banana or two is going to be great for a child. Now, if the child is eating a poor diet along with that those sugary bananas, well, then that's going to be a problem. But if you're relatively healthy,
then you're good. Okay.
Load up on the fruits and veggies.
Because I'm very curious on how much I can load up. And I've seen some of your videos on YouTube on the meal plans that you do have on there. And you did just release an ebook, am I correct, on the 28 guide, right? To transition easier. And then there's some recipes kind of spring. Okay, simple vegan mama instead of hungry vegan mama. Yeah. Okay, so kind of walk us through what that guide is to kind of give the audience an idea of what it's about. Because I'm sure they can read about it. I think it's on Amazon. Am I correct on that? That's where you order the ebook?
It is. It's you can, but I'm taking it off. I'm just doing strictly ebooks. Just because monetarily it makes more sense, but and you can print the ebook off. But Simple Vegan Mama I created because my goal with all of this that I'm sharing is not only the health aspect, but to get to this point, I had to put into place some things to make this easy for me and simple for my life as a busy mom with a family who was not vegan. I had to make this a reality, and I had to do it easily. That is exactly what the ebook is about. It's about all of the tips and tricks that I did to implement this lifestyle and make it my life forever very easily. So the first more than half of the book is pretty much all of that, all the different chapters. And then at the end, there's a 28-day guide. I don't want to say it's a meal plan because I've done so many meal plans in my life, and if there's one thing I took away from meal plans, and I'm talking here's what you eat today, here's what you eat tomorrow, here's what you eat the next day. It was so much more work for me to have to eat and make different meals constantly. It was like, what? This is too much work. This isn't easy. It was so hard. So mine is more of a guide. And I show you how I ate to not have to be cooking so much and making so much stuff. So I give you recipes and I give you kind of this guide of how I did it easily. So it's a lot of like rotating the same meals and stuff like that.
And I knew there were some very popular recipes because I see them on your Instagram and I see the reels from time to time. And so I know there's a cheese sauce. Can you share that recipe?
Yeah, well, you can. I can't. I'm not going to share it just because it's a lot. The cheese sauce is the one recipe that has quite a bit ingredients, but it's all little amounts. It's mostly spices, but you can go to hungryveganmama.com and just click on my blog. And if you click on the blog, there's categories. So there's main meals, there's desserts, there's sauces. And so if you just click on sauces, you'll see the cheese sauce recipe and you can print it out. That's a really popular one. Another popular one is my red beans and rice, which being from New Orleans, I was like, I have to keep eating my red beans and rice.
I mean, because it's still protein. And what is the portions? Because I've seen a couple of different channels just to kind of get an idea of, how to interview someone on this platform, because this is not my platform. I mean, the plant-based is I'm totally ignorant on it. So I'm learning along with the audience tonight. I heard of a 50-50, like 50 starch, 50 whatever, 50 veggie. Is that how you do this?
No.
How do you do this? No.
That is Dr. John McDougall. He wrote a book called The Starch Solution. And basically he talks about how, we're meant to eat only plant foods, and we're meant to eat starches as our main source of energy, which is true. And when you eat a plant-based diet, whether you want to do the starch solution or not, you're eating mostly starches to help keep you full and satisfied. So he has this trick though in that book that talks about it's under the weight loss section, where if you are trying to lose weight, you can do what's called a 50-50 plate, where half of your plate is full of starches and the other half is full of non-starchy veggies like broccoli or cauliflower or spinach. And so what that does is, without having to count your calories or anything, you're still eating the same plate, the same amount of volume of food, but by splitting half of it down and eating non-starchy veggies, those are less calories than the starch. So you're just replacing one half of your plate with the same amount of volume of foods. You're still filling your stomach, but you're eating less calories. So it's kind of just like a manipulation, if you will, of a way to eat less calories without having to eat less food, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that does. That does. I was just curious on that because I had seen it. I'm like, okay, I've never seen it on your site. So I know you do a different thing. You kind of kind of vary it a little bit, right? A little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I never had to go to really that point to lose weight. Just switching over and eating whole plant foods and no oil, and making sure I was eating starches. That's how I really lost the 50 pounds, is I just naturally ate less calories, which is how you lose weight, eating less calories than what your body burns. So that's how I really did it.
I've seen a lot of your smoothies. So can you give us one smoothie that is like your go-to, gotta go? Because you're a like, let's move it. Like mornings are fast.
All my recipes are quick. Because I didn't got time to be, and that was the thing in the beginning. I didn't have time to make these extravagant dishes you go, search for on Pinterest. You can find all kinds of plant-based recipes, but oh my God, like the amount of ingredients and time that you need is crazy. And that's, part of my story that I never even told you is that was my downfall of those couple times I tried to do vegan or when I really decided to go plant-based a couple times, is I was so fixed on extravagance, and I think a lot of people are. We just are, you know. You got all these fancy chef shows and stuff. We are just conditioned to believe that we need extravagance when it comes to food, and we just don't. We just need potato, broccoli, rice, beans, veggie. Like it's basic. And so all of my recipes are just super quick, super easy. And the smoothie, to get to your question, that I usually go to all the time, and this is a great way to get in greens, a lot of greens, which is amazing for your health and coronavirus, to kind of keep yourself healthy, is just a frozen banana. You can do a regular banana. You want something frozen in here, though. It kind of makes it smoothie-ish. So I do a frozen banana, a cup of frozen pineapples. I just buy frozen fruits.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes, and then I do a giant handful of spinach and a giant handful of kale and just 2 cups of water. And you blend it up, and it is very green and beautiful, but it tastes like pineapples and bananas. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's
let's hope it doesn't taste like, it doesn't taste like spinach and kale, because the kids will be like, no, ni madres.
No, my kids, Max loved it. Finley, I didn't shrink.
Like,
when you let a smoothie settle, you know, it'll get separated, and so some of the froth kind of went to the top, and she was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, it's just, hold on. And so I just kind of took the froth off, but she was like, nah. She kind of prefers the smoothies with the milk. But if you don't need to put, you know, plant milk in there, don't. So it's just as great with the water. And so it's just a banana, frozen pineapples, kale, spinach. Sometimes you don't need to have the kale. And then just 2 cups of water. And I pour that fills up a 32-ounce mason jar, which is the size of your stomach, and around. And
thank you for that bit of knowledge. I didn't know.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, that's what you want to be filling your stomach to keep you full and satisfied.
Yeah.
So it's not a ton of calories. So I eat that with like a potato on the side, and I'm good to go. Full of energy.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I'm going to go on your link that I put on the chat for those that are following us on YouTube and my business Facebook page. I don't know if people were listening on my personal page and then were not able to put anything in the chat, because I've seen a lot of eyes pop in, and if they're following there and they're trying to post a question, that's probably why we haven't received any questions. So that's on me. That's my bad. But if you post the questions on the chat, I know Tia will get to them if they're specific to her and to her role as health coach now, because you're now a health coach, blogger, nutritionist. I mean, you've got several titles now, aside from influencer. I'm running out of titles here, but I'm like, it's awesome. It's awesome all the roles that you play, because people really need your light in this world. They really do. I've followed your videos and I started laughing in some of them because I thought, this sounds like me. Like when I tried to do some of these fad things that I'm like, I just got to create the identity. Because for me, it was like getting up early and doing the writing of the book. Because Donnie kept saying, same thing Jordan told you, I will, support you and whatever, just go do it. You do it on your own, but I'll support you. And I just had not created the identity of being an author. And it takes time. It does take time, and it takes consistency, and it takes intentionality every day. And but I've been just so blessed that your channel really has tons and tons of information. I love how much you share. I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
All your recipes on there. I think a lot of people, if they were to follow you and drop 50 pounds, we'd be a healthier world out there. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know you're a busy mom, and I know you trade off, nights with your hubby.
I can hear the kids screaming. If you don't notice,
sure.
I'm in my bedroom because it's the only place that I can lock the door and just.
Well, I threaten my family because the last Let's Get Raw and Real show, there was an incident where they were supposed to be leaving and they couldn't find keys to the car, and you could hear the rattling in the background. Like, dude, I cannot concentrate like this, and it was like constant interruptions. And I thought, well, I know a lot of people are going to be watching the replays on this because I know people, they get busy. Wednesday nights are busy. Like right now, I got to jump off and slurp up my dinner, and then take this kid to martial arts and just stay out there for an hour, while he takes the class. I'm like, oh, that's our life as moms. I really, really appreciate any concluding comments you want to leave the audience with before we say goodnight.
My only thing is to just be kind to yourself and to show yourself some grace and understand that this is a journey. I know that's kind of a cliche word, but it is. It takes time to break bad habits and to bring new ones in. And there's going to be mistakes, but to not give up on yourself and to keep at it, but to understand and just have grace for yourself. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for making time. I know you're super busy with your videos, beautiful videos, and recipes.
This has been a nice break, honestly.
The kids alone that's what's like, someone please give me back my sanity. I want it back.
It was nice to talk to Jordan. Hey, you need to make dinner and help Max with his homework and make sure the kids are in the bath at 7. I'm going to go ahead and go. Bye. And lock the door. It was nice.
And I know mine are like being so quiet. I'm almost wondering what the heck they're up to, I know one's working in the office and the other two are just like disappeared, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us tonight and for giving us tons of information. And I will be one to be buying your ebook via the link, just to start my own transition into at least 2 weeks or 2 days out of the week of packing in the nutrients. Cause I need my energy. I need my health. I'm only getting older.
Same.
And so, wonderful having you, Tia Costello, the Hungry Vegan Mama. Please look her up on YouTube, and we'll be talking soon. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.